Hey all, it's Paul from Drums and Rums, where the backbeats meets the spirits. And so this is not going to be necessarily a Drums or Rums guest. But I think you need to hold on. Don't stop listening to the podcast and the video here. Stick with me here. I have an interesting guest, okay? So this is why, she's not Drums, she's not Rums. But you know what? This is my podcast, and I can do what I want. Okay. So the story goes, I met our guest at a restaurant here in West Palm Beach one night a few weeks ago, and just started talking, and she starts telling us the story about she's on a reality TV show. And it's like, what? Well, what is it? And she starts telling us about it. Never heard of the show before, never heard of it advertising, and immediately he's like, well, okay, I have to go watch it now. Mm-hmm. So unless maybe Discovery Channel intentionally sets you out into the wild to promote the show.
No.
I don't know if I would have seen, even paid attention and so forth. So let me introduce to the podcast here. Star. I'm going to call you star of the show. Yes, you are, because you.
That's your prerogative.
That's me. Yes,
I'm calling my take on it.
Well, it's my show, so I get to say what I want, right?
Yeah.
The star of the show, The Garden, Commune or Cult on the Discovery Channel. They just wrapped up the last episode here, 6 episodes. Welcome to the podcast, Naraya. How you doing, Naraya?
I'm great. You can stream it on Max now too.
Okay, there you go. You got to watch. You got to catch up, because there's a lot of references that we were going to make too. So Discovery Channel, I'm expecting a check in the mail for promoting this show. Okay, so please, I'm going to send you an invoice for promoting your show.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, but hey, thanks for again. Talk about chance encounter. How many times does somebody run into a reality star?
It's synchronistic for sure. I think it's a little ironic in a sense of the fact that you host a podcast about rum and drums, but
right.
I don't fall into those categories really. I mean, I've drummed before, and I used to drink years and years ago, over 8 years ago, but I've been sober since. So I think that, obviously things line up for a reason though. And I just listen to the universe, and there you were, and you do podcasts, and I'm open to sharing my story and putting that out there as much as possible. And here you are. So I just listen.
First off, congrats on the sobriety.
Oh, thank you.
I know it's not easy, and it's for those that are in that journey.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah. So, and especially, I don't know. I'm surprised being on that show would have made me drive me to drink. Okay, but that's a whole nother story.
I have a lot of tools that I've practiced to be able to handle my emotions and deal with people. So
right.
And myself, yeah.
So again, for those that are listening here, first off, make sure you choose your favorite podcast platform that you're listening to this on: Apple, Spotify, Pandora. Make sure give us a rating there. That's important. All those podcast Apple ratings do mean a difference. It lets other people know it's a podcast they should check out. And give us a 5-star rating. And then follow us on YouTube. Hit that like button and subscribe and so forth. And we'll talk a little bit some of your things that you're going to work on in the social media space here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But
hopefully they feel that it's a 5-star, right? So only do it if you feel called to do it. But
no, you must do it. Okay, I know. However you feel, I don't care how you feel. No, I'm just kidding. But it would be great if you could, right? Because obviously it helps support us.
Yeah.
So let's walk back. Okay. So again, met you, found out about the show, immediately went and binged the first episode. It then got sucked into it, and then was like, and I think I text you later on, and I was like, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
Already.
Right. And then episode 2 was like, okay, this is my mind's being blown right now, what I'm watching on the show here. So, again, those of you haven't seen it, you got to watch it. But I definitely
to the end.
Yes, you do have to watch the end, because again, a lot of people say, "Is this a commune or a cult?" And I do think you, unfortunately, this is the one downfall of reality TV. Right, you're left to the hands of the editing. What makes the show interesting? Right. It sounded like everyone afterwards had a little bit of second feelings about going on the show in the first place, right? Even some of the others that you may not have saw eye to eye with. But so let me walk back here and understand. How did you get into the show, right? Because I think there's a big part of episode 1 where there's a huge, it's like the viewers just got thrown right into the garden in the first location in Tennessee, right? You start, the show starts off there. And for those that again don't know this, the story, the garden's been, you explain. I'm doing all the talking.
I would actually love to hear
what I think.
Yeah, because I've heard similar things, and for someone that you haven't experienced it until you met me, and then you went and did research, right?
Right. So, like a lot of people that looks like they came on that show, they wanted to find out what was going on. That seemed like everyone who joined or was wanting to become part of the garden.
The newcomers
wanted
right. to figure it out, yeah.
But that's the thing is, you weren't a newcomer. And that's there's a huge piece that was missing about understanding how you played into this, right?
Huge piece missing.
Right.
And it's like I was, but I wasn't.
Right.
So
yeah, okay, so you wanted me to ask, okay, so watch the show. Of course, started watching because they mentioned a lot of TikTok stuff, which I found hilarious. One of the big blow-ups about with you and Tree was the phone stuff and recording stuff, right? But yet, and everything's dangerous and everything's filming, but yet he's shooting TikTok videos and things like that. So right off that, I wanted to punch myself in the throat because that made no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Right. That's first off, right?
Well, that's 2 questions now. So you want to keep? Are you just going to give your full perspective?
I'm going to give my full perspective.
Okay.
And then you tell me where I'm right and wrong. And
I just want to be able to go back and answer them all.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't see you taking notes.
You're right. Where is my notebook?
This is like an SAT. She should be taking
I think it's buried in my car.
I have a question, and it comes in 4 parts. But so learning about the garden, like I said, I didn't know about the garden until meeting you, watching the show, start diving into TikTok to look up all that stuff, and then the whole big controversy back in 2000, I guess, 2020.
I don't even know.
So about how, people were coming to the garden and, and again, drew more people to it. And the whole thing about the cat, that somebody killed a cat or a raccoon. I don't know it. So that's kind of about where I'm at with understanding. I get that there's a sense of preppers, right? There's a lot of, that's not a new thing. I get there's a sense of people that may be very disillusioned with how society and things are. They want to go live off on their own, which is fine. Go do your thing in your own area, just as much as I'm doing my thing in my own area, right? But some of the ideology, it just doesn't quite make sense. Everything from, if everyone's living off the grid, how the hell is all these cell phones getting charged? How does anybody make money?
It's not really off the grid.
Right.
Not fully, I mean.
Right. It's like, okay, we're living off the grid, but yet, so the supplies going to the store, right? And I think the new guy, I'm drawing a blank now on the Viking guy, right? The Tyler, right? Talking about how, he's a true prepper, but people should be actually living off the land rather than dumpster diving, right? So again, I don't know, maybe, Nariah, I don't want to say culture, but I guess the way of living and the way of lifestyle, I guess, is really of that. So I don't even remember what the first question was. So take it for how you want to go, run with it. So.
Okay. So the first thing you were asking was, how did I get involved, right? So I did do a reality documentary 8 years ago as well. Well, more like about 9. And I had a very interesting experience then. And I told myself through that, because there was so much ego involved and just energy that I didn't want to involve myself with. It totally split up our friend group. And not that we were all the best of friends in the very beginning anyway, but it was just, people would rather be in front of the camera and be number one than have that real relationship. So it became a competition for a lot of them. And I was just like, I don't want any part of this. And so through that experience, you know, I told myself I'd never do it again, right? And that was actually, you know, how you mentioned earlier, like, you feel like if you were in my position that this would drive you to relapse, right? If you had been sober,
right? Yeah,
but involved with this group of people. So back then, that's exactly what happened. I didn't relapse, but I went even deeper into my addiction, right? And it got me to the point where I had a DUI, right? My second DUI.
Oh, wow.
And I had to get an attorney, and it was either go to jail, most likely, or go to rehab. And I went to rehab, and I had a spiritual experience within the first week of being there. What they call like a spiritual experience versus a spiritual awakening. So an experience means immediately. So I'm not going to go too into depth with that here, but I will be explaining that more later.
Okay.
But so I had something change in me in an instance, and I no longer wanted to drink or do drugs. And I changed my whole life in that moment. Of course, it took practice and learning how to do it and having a whole new life. But through that process, you know, I've gained a lot of tools. And that is what, you know, to say all that, to get to the point of where this presented itself to me. I wasn't out looking for it. I didn't want to be on TV. That was never a thought process. And so because it came to me and the way that it came to me, I allowed it to come in. I prayed, I meditated, and I got guidance to do it. And so I knew that I could handle it now in a whole nother way because of the work that I've done on myself. But to put a little bit of like more detail into how, really simply, my mom was at a farmer's market. A mutual friend knew a girl that was involved in the group, at the garden group, and said, oh, you should talk to Naraya. She's building intentional communities and she's been on a show before. Maybe she can be involved somehow. And so I met up with them here on a piece of land in Florida and spent a week or two there. That was an interesting experience. I mean, how much time do we have here? Because there's so much backstory.
No, okay,
like, I don't know.
You said it was in Florida, so enough said. Okay, I think that's enough. Okay, I'm here long enough living in Florida that I do consider myself one of the Florida men.
Yeah.
But yeah, so totally, yeah, Florida's an interesting place. But maybe it's a part two.
Okay,
this part of it. So, but yeah, continue, because I think that's an interesting thing. Again, for those that are not familiar with the garden or intentional communities, or you know, just a bunch of people living dirty out in the woods, you know, like I said, it is not to be disrespectful, or those that don't understand. It's not for everybody, right?
Yeah. It's not for everyone, you know, and you just got to kind of try it. If you feel called to do it, you just try it out. But
right.
Maybe do a little bit more research than I did. I just dove in.
Right.
I had no idea. I found out later when I got up to Tennessee, like they actually started telling me a little bit about what was going on with them in the past with TikTok and all this craziness that was going on there. But so, yeah, I spent some time with them in Florida, had a very interesting experience there.
Same group or different group?
Both. Same and different. So
really?
Some of the same. So basically they were interviewing people that they felt would be good to be a part of it for the show, like a part of the journey with the filming. Okay,
so there was already a start of production and casting.
Even before me. Before I entered the picture, they had already been doing it.
And now, what time frame are we talking about here? How many years ago?
Oh, years ago? Actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say all that. Okay. It was like a year ago.
Okay.
That they actually started formulating everything.
Okay. So it's interesting that it started here. There was your initial meeting up with that was in Florida.
Yeah, mine was.
And then Tennessee.
People came from a lot of different places. Yeah. So it was interesting. I was trying to figure it out. So basically it started with like the connection was made. I called the girl that was already part of the garden. We talked a couple times, and then they added me to this Discord group. And we did like a couple like meetups where kind of like talk about the idea and how it's going to come together and a little bit about each person. And so like your first time on, you say a little bit about yourself, and then other people come on and get to hear about them. And so through that process, they did the council, and it was like a council for each process, and they voted me in on each process all the way up until they voted me out. Which that wasn't legitimate either, but
which is so hypocritical, by the way. It's how the council acted in your ouster, or lack thereof of acting, and over some of this. Like I said, I think that's the unfortunate part of those that did not want to have conflict, and it's like going with the mass. That's the part of what people feel this is why it's a cult, because if you had a couple of the other girls that came to you and said, hey, I agree, and that's not right.
Yeah.
But they never spoke up on your behalf.
They tried to. They do a little bit, right? And then
because they're afraid, right? They're afraid they're going to get kicked out as well. And it's like, so how much is that really community based? If and I think Tyler said some of those things at the end there about how this isn't working.
The councils are not legitimate. I found a lot out as time went on. Like I was with them for a month in Tennessee before the camera crew came, and then the week or two here in Florida. So I got to see a lot, and my intentions at first were like, how can I help? Let me provide to this community. Let's figure out where you guys are at, and how can I be of service to you? Like what I do, I do this with people on a regular basis, one-on-one.
Right.
And it's developing into more of a group thing or a family dynamic of just being present, getting to know the situation, whatever it is, mental and emotional most of the time, right? And then I spend time with them and I figure out how I can help. And so as that started to happen and unfold, I just kept getting a lot of pushback, and I wasn't really sure why. And it was just like really confusing a lot of the time, but it became clear as time went on. But so that was my purpose of being there, was like, I felt called to be a protector of the people. So like the group, I knew what happened to me on the show that I did before, and I wanted to make sure that I could try my best to just hold space for everyone and kind of share my experience to keep it from falling apart internally.
Right. So I'm going to ask you, and this might be a little controversial, and I don't know if you're going to be, if you come to answer this question is, there in the second episode where the whole big kick up about always filming, or accused of always filming and filming things, and it's dangerous and all these things. Do you feel that maybe, and maybe you haven't thought about this, Tree's reaction to this was maybe pushed by the producers of the show to not allow you to film while being there, to show behind the scenes and other cuts that never will see the light because of editing?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that in general, right? Everyone's kind of getting some back end side comments from them. They're directing,
right?
And you never know what's said to the next person or not. They're creating some of it for sure, right. But can I touch back on like a deeper truth what you're just talking about though?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so to clear, this has been one of the main things people are like, you're being sneaky, you're filming all these people without their consent. So one of the very first things that I learned about this project was that the producers provided iPhones to everyone, like 4 or 5, right? And everyone was going to be doing first person filming with their own camera. And that was like the basis of the show. It was supposed to be half with the real filming and then half with first person. And so I thought that was really cool. And they had already did the thing with the phones. And I was like, you know what? I have an iPhone. Let me just upgrade mine and then I can do it too. And everyone was cool with that. And that's just how it was meant to be. And so that's what was happening the whole time. I wasn't the only one just filming everyone. And everyone gave consent that this was happening by us and by the crew the whole time. So for them to, it was just like their own paranoia coming out and then like wanting to pinpoint it on me for that is like, oh, well, that's something that we can say that she's doing, because they didn't have any other real reason as to why they were acting the way that they were, besides the fact that I could see them clearly. And I like their system and their structure and how they're really functioning. And so I've seen this pattern now. They'll just find something to pinpoint on you and make you the scapegoat or whatever and turn everybody against you and just to get you to leave.
So what was Tree and Julia like before those first 2 episodes towards you?
Like before those first 2 episodes,
right. Again,
the camera crew came.
Okay, remember, I'm looking at this from the viewer. I don't know what happened before, and I only know what happened since.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
yeah.
right? So that's a question that somebody asked me was, what did you know, or what were you told by the producers or the show before you got into it? But of course, so now I think you answered that question because you were a part of it before the show actually took off. So you had an understanding of what it was all about, right? You were you were truly into the community aspect of it. So you had an idea going in, but it seemed like it started to kind of change a little bit. But your antagonist at this point, we'll just call it that, at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Again, this is theater.
Falsely.
Well, yeah. So, and again, I've seen some videos even from Julia and Tree talk about how they even felt like they were done wrong too. So
I haven't really watched any of their stuff, honestly.
Right. So
purposely.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to get into all of it.
Right. I mean, you lived it, right? So you don't need to live it again, right?
Yeah.
And but that was what it was So let me pause there and try to collect my thoughts here.
Okay.
So the first 2 episodes, first episode, you meet everybody who was there. Everybody who was in Tennessee, packed up, moved to Missouri. Then you're in Missouri, and this is kind of when things went south for you, right?
That you saw.
That's right. That's what I saw, right?
Yeah.
So those that kind of were those against you at the end of the second episode, how were they prior to that towards you?
So this was the interesting thing for me. I've been trying to figure out the exact moment where everything turned. And because when you're in it, it's so different than when you were in it and then out of it. Like reflecting back on that whole thing is just like mind blowing sometimes, what I can see even more so now. But so, and I really don't know to name names or not, but basically there was a lot of controversy within the group from the get-go, and I learned that they have a lot of interpersonal heartache and trauma and just constant chaos with that. And so there were several like heart circles where everyone got together and talked about what's going on, and a lot of it just was arguing, right? And so there is an instance where, there was a couple times with Tree and Patrick, and that was like a 2-day long thing at one point. And they're trying to like hash things out before the crew came because they didn't want to do any of it on camera. They want to put on this front, right? So that was going on, and then there was another scenario with Vibe and another member, and that got pretty intense too. And everyone was kind of realizing and feeling out, like, because they're still deciding, like, because it's their say who goes on camera and not, right?
Who? You
The inner circle.
Okay, so not the producers, but
No.
okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Again, that blows my mind there about everything regarding that, because yes, through editing, that can be done. But what you just said there kind of blows my mind about the part of who's on camera and who's not.
oh yeah.
That-
No, they had to stop filming when they said stop filming. You know, so they're still trying to control and manipulate all what's seen and not, because they're not being honest and truthful with everything. So, you know, I mean, I think it's smart to have a cohesive group, right? Like, great. But they're still trying to hide truths about things instead of bringing it to light and showing how to solve problems. They want to make it seem like it's something it's not.
Okay, so
That's only one part of it. There's so many other ways that they're trying to make it seem that it is, but it's really not.
So the whole allure was, or pulling behind the curtain was, that the garden was this utopian and everybody's happy and everything's peaceful and all these things and everyone's getting along and so forth, and they didn't want to portray that on TV. Now, why would you think that? Why would that be? You know, to not show, is it because it's tarnishing what the concept of the garden is supposed to be about? A bunch of, you know, as they talked a little bit about in the 60s, right? Is Patrick King, his parents were, you know, hippies or whatever you want to call it, right? Peace, love, and whatever.
The simple answer is they're trying to show that they're not a cult. So they know what one is. They know what they're doing. That's the thing. And then they know what one looks like when they're not. So they're trying to be that other. So, but to get back to the point where things shifted, right? Vibe was asked to leave the property for a couple days so they can determine if she should be a part of the show or not. She came back and all hell broke loose towards me. And this was right before the cameras came. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, I don't understand this. And everything was like coming to a head at one time. So it's like, I didn't really have time to sit with it. I'm just like taking it as it's coming at me. And it was very actually hard at certain points, like emotionally, just because I wasn't expecting that to a degree. I wasn't trying to expect anything, but it's like, when you get hit out of nowhere with multiple things like that, it was just a whole nother level for me. And I can handle a lot, but to be treated in such a way, it was just like, it took me back for sure. But so I could start to see, I think that was like a day or two before the camera crew came. And then that first night in the first episode where they're talking about, they say they've been infiltrated, right? That was a whole side conversation going on when me and Zans are over here dancing. And I started to notice that they really didn't like, the producers came over. I was starting to dance a little bit, and then I got uncomfortable because I could feel the energy, right? And then they came back over and were like, hey, can you and Zans get up and dance some more? I was like, yeah, I love dancing. I'm all about it. And I could just feel and see them. They hated that I was getting attention. And so that I could see that carry out throughout the whole time. And I tried to, it reminds me of a conversation that I had with everyone in the thought process of let's do problem solving before, like preventative communication
get
of
ahead,
how to handle things
right,
and
get
like
ahead of it.
where we're at,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it reminded me of the show I did prior. And I'm like, you know what? It became the competition because everyone wanted to be in the spotlight. I was like, can we work together? And can we know like that these are the core, there's supposed to be 10 core people, right? That were being filmed. I'm like, can we purposely encourage one another to have equal time? So, and consciously be thinking of that throughout this process and lift others up. And like, because there's some people that are shy. And I wanted to help encourage them to be more seen and whatnot too. And like, because everyone has a voice. And for them to be seen and heard, they have a part to, you know, in the bigger picture, in the puzzle. Everyone has their piece. And I really wanted to encourage that. And so that was the thought process I had going into it. And as soon as they showed up, it was like tearing anybody down that wanted to be seen and heard.
So going back to the start of what the cameras showed up, do you know, or if you do, can you enlighten how did this come about? Do you know who engaged who as far as filming in this show? Was it from Patrick? Was it from Discovery Channel? Catching the discussion on social media and approaching them about the show, and then on top of it too, it's a TV show. Mm-hmm. Somebody signed contracts. Somebody was making money, right? I'm assuming somebody, however that works out, that somebody's getting paid for something, right? So I'm wondering is how that plays into some things, right? But do you know, I mean, how was the show actually engaged? Did they seek out Patrick and Tree or whoever? Or was it more like Discovery Channel, the production company, reach out?
From what I know and what I feel comfortable sharing, I have a bigger thought process, a deeper thought process on this. But from what I'm aware of, because they were getting such traction on TikTok, they had like over 1 million views or whatever, and the producers saw that, and so they wanted to get in
on it. Yeah, mm-hmm, yeah. Okay, and that makes, and that, I guess understands, and that makes sense.
That's a simple way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. Now that's fine. I just was curious. Was it more of a opportunistic? And I think is probably the word I used a lot watching the show. Was it seemed like there was a lot of opportunistic people? Like maybe it was it a cult, commune, or just people being opportunistic, right?
Well, see, I feel like I was being opportunistic, but in the sense of I get to work in my purpose and help people and to be of service and really like put this out there that it's possible to be so different but live together. And I think it could be if people were more willing to work on themselves and go deeper and have a higher level of communication with one another. And they just weren't open to that. They had their structure and they wanted to keep it that way.
Right. I mean, and from the show, you could tell who the alphas are, right? And that's, those that are just kind of don't want to make waves and they don't want to, and have a lot of people that's in the show have, I feel, I don't feel sorry, but I just kind of empathetic is, people, a lot of, emotional stuff, as you mentioned, or baggage or things and confidence things and things that they're dealing with themselves. And, if being in a place in the woods with other like-minded people, away from society, away from other things, again, like I said, more power to you. You're there doing your thing. It's great. Maybe you're getting ahead of it before when the end of the world comes, and we're all, suffering, and you guys are, I don't know, whatever. But
yeah, well, there's a couple of different things with that. I feel like there's a lot of like truth and beneficial things mixed into a lot of misinformation, and so that's kind of how it works.
If you don't, what I've learned is when it comes, if you don't get ahead of things people will come up with their own version, story, narrative. That's why it's important to always get ahead of things before and give information, not hide behind it, whatever it may be. Because if you get ahead of it, lay it out there, tell you this is what's going on, and get ahead of it before somebody else makes the story for you.
That's an interesting perspective, but I've actually been doing the opposite. And also because we weren't supposed to be talking about anything yet.
Right. The show's over now, right? So
Yeah.
I know there's other things you might not be because of,
Right.
Whatever,
Well, it's just like part of the process. Like you can't do a million spoiler alerts. Like then there's nothing to be excited about watching. So you can't really dive deep into it. But yeah, for me, it was about, because I've been getting a lot of hate, and a lot of misinformation and just straight up lies being said about me. And instead of reacting, right, I pause. I know my purpose, my truth, and not let my emotions take over.
And it was on display at the end of that episode. I tell you what, listening to all that during that council, and you just try to stay as calm as possible. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe it's because, maybe if you were a different person, like you said, maybe 8 years ago, you would have seen a different Naraya.
Yeah. Probably, right? Most likely, right. For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's taken a lot, especially to be to handle all of that. Like it was like a 5-hour council, and they cut it down into 5 minutes. And there was so much that went on in that. And, one of the things that I really wanted them to point out was that they have this code of conduct written on a cardboard, piece hanging up right where we were sitting. And I was like, this is perfect timing to point this out. Like, they're not following their own code of conduct. Right. It's written right here.
Being hypocritical.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's just like an ongoing thing of we say something, but we don't live by it. There wasn't supposed to be alcohol. That was a choice made in the very beginning. And then something happens and they go back on it. Or it's still a rule, but then it's still just happening and people are ignoring it. The other thing was do everything possible to solve a situation before making somebody leave, which we had no mediation, no conversation, not even a single conversation with anyone, because there was a lot more happening. It wasn't just Tree. There was other people that were 100% against me, if not even more, in instigating that with Tree. So, and I learned that's called gang stalking. And I found the definition of that. I can't say it right now. I'm new into learning about all this, but it was a very intense situation. And that council was heavy.
Yeah. I think, as reality TV shows have come out more so, I think, I guess MTV gets credit for The Real World, right? I think as some of the first reality TV shows as we know it today. Mm-hmm. We're going back to in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And, things like Survivors, all these things, and you hear, and it's when I say this, I'm not saying why did you not know better, but so I'm trying not to chastise. I'm not trying to,
yeah.
But yeah, it's in one sense you're like, hey, I'm going to be on a reality TV show.
No.
But the other side, in a sense, is saying, well, maybe there should be that's just it. We're gonna bleep this part out so we don't give away the $1 million idea here. You need to be like a reality TV coach for people.
That'd be cool.
And prepping people for, and
well, I wanna produce and direct now.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is
now that you see how.
Yeah, but something in truth, not completely manipulated, and there was a lot of things that did not coincide. But you touched on something before we move on that I wanted to mention. Can you say what you said again? Because it was right there.
Which part?
I don't know. What were you just saying? Oh no, it was important. And I loved how you said you didn't want to spoil it, but before you talked about me coaching people going into. Oh no, we'll have it come back around.
We may have to hit pause and replay the tape. Yeah. So, no, I think that's going into, you knew going into it though? Maybe that's what I was talking about.
You were saying, yeah, like, didn't I know better?
Right.
And okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
to get to that, I love that you asked me that, because this is how I function in my life on a daily basis since getting sober and finding a really deep surrender in my life and just completely giving everything over to my higher power and trusting and learning how to decipher between my lower self and my higher self, my guidance and my ego, fear-based personality that was programmed in versus my higher self that is connected to source, right? So being able to decipher that and use that every second of every day has been my focus. And through that process, I have been guided to very interesting, intense, in-depth situations that if I had listened to my mind, I wouldn't have done, but I also wouldn't have found a deeper surrender and trust. And so even if there's things that I don't want to do now, I know how to sit with that and figure out where that's coming from, whether it's a place of fear or if it's something that's really not in alignment. And so in this case, when I met them in Florida, the experience that I had made me not want to be around the people. But you know what I learned too is that that's how they function. If they don't like you, and I learned this before they did it to me, and just in conversation when we were actually talking for the first couple of days about how they function and whatnot, and they were like, "Oh well, if we don't want you here, you won't want to be here. Believe me." And I was like, I didn't know what that meant at that moment. And then after it happened to me, like no one, I was there to hang out and get to know everyone. No one was there. No one would talk to me. Kind of like the other Tyler was talking about in the beginning when he went. He was in the kitchen trying to spark conversation with people and everyone just kind of ignoring him and brushing him off. That's what I got, but like times 10, where they weren't even present. They would all run back to their little area, their van or whatever.
Right, the little clicks.
So it wasn't about me knowing better. It was about me having the experience, feeling like I needed to go sit with it with myself. So I was with them for like a week, left for a week, and then came back.
But you were also, I guess, can I say a different person between those two different experiences?
Which two different experiences?
The first reality experience?
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about the reality show. I'm talking about when I met them in Florida.
Right. But I know when I had said was you knew you've done it before. Why would you do it again? Knowing the reality show aspect previously, right?
So yeah, because I felt called to protect them,
right,
and to be of service in that way, and then also be of service to the people in the world, and to show them like this is because I've already been working on building structures for intentional communities,
right?
And so I wanted to implement that in with this group and have them be the first group that I actually do it with.
And that's a part, it seems like, on that show. You know, there was legit people that showed up, like, you know, yourself or Tyler or the girl here in Florida. Like I said, I don't remember everyone's names. They were legit there to, you know, and it's always kind of very puzzled me as well with Tyler was, it's like, he same thing. It felt like he had something he felt like he had to provide and give to the world or to somebody or
his
people.
His piece, his gifts.
Yeah, and he was trying to do that. He was trying to legitimately to try to show people how to like really live off the land and or to be self-sufficient. And I guess I'm just totally blown away, I guess, by just watching it and
the non-openness or acceptance or willingness. And you know why that is because their social infrastructure is not solid. Well, it is, but not in the way that they present it to be. An egalitarian community means that everyone is 100% equal and everyone has a say in everything. And they try to portray that as such. But there's really a shadow council underneath making decisions before the actual council or the bigger council happens. But so, yeah, they'll shut you down. If what you are trying to portray and present is not what they want, they construe it in such a way and they don't let it happen. So it's not really like it is this open thing.
So what I'm wondering is those, and again, empathetic is the word I want to use, is for those that felt like they didn't have a voice and didn't want to speak up. Did you get to feel that some maybe there had nowhere else to go?
100%.
And this was it. So they couldn't go back or okay. Right. Again, I don't know how, right. We're seriously just really met. This is really the second time here, right?
Yeah.
So, but you're obviously doing okay. You're doing a thing, and others that are, they're doing their thing after leaving the show, right? They're not probably still on the property, but those I think that I've got nowhere else to go. I'm not part of society. And again, it's I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be very much trying to understand.
Yeah, it's realistic what you're saying.
Right.
So, and that's kind of how they scope people out, right? So there's different levels to the circles. There's different tiers in the circles. And so, and those are the ones that are more susceptible to be brainwashed and sucked in and just listen and obey,
or whatever,
because they are relying on the other parts of the group to be provided to, like shelter, community, food. I mean, like some of them don't even have vehicles and have to ride around with the other ones. So it's like everyone's depending on each other. And that's, I think, a beneficial thing to a certain point within a community. But at the same time, it's what's the intention behind it. And I feel like a lot of their intention behind it is to control the others and to get from them and to use them how they feel called to.
Yeah, I guess. And whether somebody feels that if it's they're mutually a give and take, hey, I'm getting this out of this. Okay, I may have to deal with this. But what is my options, or what am I,
Some feel stuck, though.
I agree. I think that's a perception. Again, I don't understand fully.
And I can't speak for all of them. This is just what I witnessed.
Right.
And, my experience with talking to people, being present, witnessing. I do a lot of just witnessing.
Right.
And
so, all right. So, this was after you left. What was your, so let me back up. This is probably the first question I should have asked you was, did you watch the show all the way through?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So fair enough. Right. You want to see how it came out, right?
Yeah.
Here, they say there's always three sides of the truth: mine, yours, and the truth. Right. And
we all have a different perspective.
That's true. Right.
And I love everyone's perspective.
So after you left, again, we'll just call it episode 3 and to the end, right?
Yeah.
Some of the new folks that came in. Some that seemed to kind of fit, and we talked about Tyler, right?
Yeah.
Military experience, was a prepper,
There were 2 Tylers.
I'm going to get to that in a second.
Okay.
I'm going to get to that in a second. So obviously, did those new folks that were from episodes 3 through 6, because I think there's probably was others that we just didn't see on the show, but how did they get involved? Did they reach out? Did they, or was it the producers trying to bring people? Because let me tell you, the other Tyler, like I said, I don't want to be like so hypercritical and negative, but I'm like, it's a lot of them. Again, I'm only watching what I see on TV. So, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to not be, again, it's I know some of it is very much edited and crafted in a certain way that doesn't tell the whole story like you, right? Mm-hmm. I
like what I was filming when Tree took my phone.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. If you don't see that, that's how bizarre.
I was filming the teepee and the paintings that I did on it. And I'm going to put those videos out there.
I don't know. And maybe it's kind of the tone, because I never saw Tree act insane around Tyler.
Oh, yeah, because
Tyler won.
He probably got chewed out for how he treated me and is like, you get in line or...
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to speak his mind, right?
Right, with me.
Right.
But that's because I was getting more attention to...
Yeah. Right. So,
he didn't want that.
And I think that's what Tyler realized was after that council was like, what the hell just happened there, right? And he was new, so again, he wasn't quite sure, maybe a whole history or backstory and so forth. But
I threatened his ego more.
yeah.
That was the thing.
So Tyler 2, or he had a tree name too or something right there.
Yeah, Oak.
I don't know, how do you how does again, Tyler, if you want to come on the show and tell me your side of the story?
He would love to. I'm sure. I've talked to him. He's open to it.
I get it's like, same thing with Jessica. Some that were like, this does not fit. You do not fit the mold here. It in the sense of, as a viewer watching the show as it was presented, like, Jessica, you're this prissy girl that's, again, that's how they backstoried her in, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to cut it. But ultimately, she came out, we watched the end of it, and we're like, she seemed much stronger willed and so forth than I think initially she was given credit for. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. She stuck it through the end, and she wasn't afraid, breaking nails and whatever. But she could have left at any point.
Reaching out, like that's hard to do at times too. When
watching
you're in there.
watching Julia's face when Jessica was very upfront and honest. Yeah, this is what I think, and this is what I think it is, and I think Julie was taken back by that.
Yeah,
and
mm-hmm.
But yeah, back to Oak. I'm like, you're gonna be. Did he not know? I don't know. You can't speak for him, but I'm just curious. Is like, did he not know what he was getting himself into? And
probably not.
Being,
I don't think any of us did. I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. Like, I figured it out as time went on, just right. Like you don't really know, especially if it's your first time involving yourself around a cult. I mean, an intentional community experience is different than what that experience was.
Yeah. So again, and that's a good point, right? Is the different perspective coming into, or what did each person understand or were told before they went into it? Right. Mm-hmm. So I again, just as a viewer watching, and and again, especially riling up Tree, which was great, asking about a million questions about compost and things that float in the air, whatever.
Microbes.
Yeah, microbes. Yeah. What are microbes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Tyler did mention, Tyler too said that he had gotten some other form of backstory from the producers as to what this was.
Really?
Yeah, just more that it was more of like a survival type situation,
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't really know.
It's like
we should do it. We should get him on here though.
We can do a whole nother episode here.
Yeah.
Co-host it with co-host your the garden commune or community not rehab, but I mean,
it should be. They need rehab. Yeah, that'd be great. I wanted to provide that to them too, a means of getting sober if any of them wanted to, and providing information and resources and just my experience, strength, and hope behind that. That was a focus too.
Well, I think that, and like I said earlier, was about coaching people about reality TV shows and having the mindset going in and understanding. Mm-hmm. You come out of this, your life is going to be different, for the better or the worse. And I'm sure there's a lot of those probably how's their life experiences afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I know unfortunately, you're getting attacked and things and
it's
bullshit.
It's not unfortunate. It's just what it is. I'm not upset about it. Yeah. It's interesting, and it provides me another way to practice working on myself and not reacting and using my tools, just like everything else in life that comes at you, And I appreciate all of the experiences. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. Well, So, I mean, that's a great way to look at it. Mm-hmm. And no regrets.
Nope.
And you learn, and maybe learn, maybe not do it again, in things in life, not just in this, but how, I'm not going to do that again. It's like touching the stove. You're not going to touch the stove again,
exactly.
Right?
You know what? I love this flow here. It reminds me of just how synchronistic things are. And, like, you're saying things, and it is reminding me of, like, these thought process that I've had about this experience, where I've had this in my life on a regular basis of the universe showing me and putting me in circumstances and showing me what not to do first, and being as building intentional community and structure and providing to people information, resources, outlines, all of that. Learning what not to do within a community first. And I think that this is a pretty good example of that for the most part.
We go through life, we have experiences, and if we don't learn from experiences, things that we don't like, or things that are good, feel good, it's an unfortunate, I think, that if you don't, if people don't learn the second time, you should hopefully at least learn. Maybe the second time I'll give that benefit. Third time, fourth time, fifth time,
Learn. Are you referencing something specific?
Just in general.
Okay.
Whatever the
like
experience
doing the
might
same
be.
thing.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Like that's called living in insanity.
You got to live. Well,
doing the same thing over and over.
Over and over. I think Albert Einstein.
A different outcome.
Was it Albert Einstein who said that?
I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Fact check us. Right. Go ahead. Right. Hate mail. Send the hate mail to.
Correction.
Yeah. So no. Again, very fascinating. A lot of questions. A lot of things. As a viewer from my lens into the TV show, in the product and thing that was put out in front of us.
Yeah.
Again, there's always the behind the scenes, like I asked you, is like off the grid or money or, all these things. Is how does these things function, and how does, all these questions, and just trying to deal with people. And, I don't know, again, I don't think I would fit. I don't think I would, even knowing what I know now, would I want to sign up for that. But again, if I never saw the show before and I didn't have maybe certain responsibilities and so forth, would I give it a try? I don't know. It's not that I don't like camping, and maybe, I know this is more than camping.
Maybe
but
not with that group. Give it a try elsewhere.
Are you trying to talk me into a cult?
No, I can help provide you with a group and a space that is not.
Yeah.
Now that I know what one looks like, close up from being on the inside.
Here's the do's and don'ts, right?
Exactly. Here we go. Step one.
Oh my God! I go back to like thinking I was in the Boy Scouts and things. I'm like, there's a lot of that. It seems very much community, and you're out there, you're together. Food is an important place to be around, or the fire at nighttime, or things like that. But
the whole community aspect is amazing. Yeah. Working together, living together, being there for one another, providing needs back and forth, like sharing our gifts with each other. Like that's what I feel like is, for me, a main focus in this world. Learning what that is for ourselves. Do you know what you can give back to community right now if you were to go to be a part of one?
I could do podcasts in the community, right?
There you go. Get information out there about what's going on. There you go. That's one thing, But so, that's such a gift to me, to be able to know that about myself and then be able to go to a place and give that. And I feel like if everyone were to know that about themselves more clearly and feel connected and centered within that we could all just give to each other, and we wouldn't be fighting and competing and trying to get to the top, because everyone would be just providing to one another. And when we're in that vibration and of just giving and being in our gifts and providing, the people that have what we need, per se, for lack of a better term, will just be there. Like this scenario. Right. It's the timing. We don't have to even try. As long as we're aware, like I just stay focused on being aware, open-minded, non-judgmental, and like in the moment. And through that, I could have not talked to you for several reasons, being as you were drinking or whatever. Like I don't have those judgments on anyone, right? Yeah. But because I just was present, held space, we didn't even get to the podcast part until almost the end of the conversation that we had, you know? Yeah. So I just love that, how the universe works, and community. And I do want to say like some good things, in a sense. Like I try not to use the term good and bad, but some useful information that I feel like the garden does do is they're
positive
useful.
Okay. Yeah,
useful. I positive and negative is almost the same as good and bad. And I'm reprogramming my neural pathways with different verbiage to be more in alignment with my perspective. So that's an ongoing thing. Sometimes I'll correct myself in the moment. But so I forgot what I was saying.
You're falling about what
Community.
community and what people provide, the usefulness. Or
Oh,
the
what
good
they
or
did that was useful.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so these were the things that I was really attracted to about them in the beginning. You know, teaching about the composting and the biochar. Like that was the main thing that I saw Tree doing in Florida. Like it was starting to learn about that and teach people in the community about it. And I was like, that's really interesting. Like I loved those things.
Right.
And, you know, those are the type of things that I feel like are useful and beneficial. Like stay focused on that and providing that information. And you know, that's how they can give back to the world. And I think that that was good that they showed that on the show.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of good things about there that got into that aspect of living, you know, on the land that most people wouldn't know about, right? Or how you could do these things, or if you're going to, you know, poop in the woods, you know, there's certain things you should need to do and think about and be careful. There's a, you know, sanitary kind of things like, or. Yeah, I think there was, as you said, there was a lot of useful things that were there, and hopefully, I think there's a term that I hear and I sometimes will use is time, talent, and treasure.
Okay.
Okay, you may not have all three, but you probably can provide. A person can provide one of the three. You may not have time, or you may not have treasure, meaning money, right? You may not have talent, but maybe you have time, right? Maybe I don't know how to do something, but I can help you if you show me, and I'm giving you my effort, my time to do whatever you need me to do. Maybe you have talent, as you maybe, like I said, maybe you're a teacher. You want to show people, like you or Tyler, you were talking about, was I'm going to show you how to do these things and teach others, right? So you have a talent, like you said, right?
Be a provider of information and
Right.
experience.
Or treasure, right? Obviously, that's an easy one right there to provide on that stuff. But yeah, I think it's an interesting concept. I'm glad some of it wasn't just wholly about prepping.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and people that are prepping, waiting for the zombies. You know,
Well, I wish
and-
they showed more, honestly.
Yeah.
Like of what works, but you know,
Right.
everything unfolds the way that it's meant to.
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe there'll be a second season where they show more of what does work, you know, versus this one where it's like, hey, this is chaos
Right.
and this really doesn't work. Take note on that, and then let's show you what does.
Okay, so now the question I've got to hit you with is if they call, would you go and?
Oh man.
You're gonna have your own show, right? Now, right? So Discovery Channel, give Narai her own show. You know.
First of all, if anything like the were to ever happen, it's not my show. I'm literally only willing to be in front of any camera, especially even like this. Any of them. I didn't do any of my regular social media for basically that 8 years after the other TV show. I'm like, I don't want any part of this.
Right.
Ego-based. I
Yeah.
don't need that, you know? I don't need someone doesn't need to know my every move. I don't need to post everything, you know?
Social media is weird. I get it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't want to overshare. You don't want to put it out there. Some people are like, hey, look what I'm eating, and pictures,
Yeah.
and it's like.
I didn't care to do any of that. But I am willing to do this because I feel like it's a calling of mine to be of service to the people. And I would be willing to do anything and everything for that, for the people, if it felt in alignment and I had guidance to do it. Whether that be with them, without them, something totally different, who knows? But I do know that I'm meant to be helping build intentional communities because I let go of my successful business in order to do so because my guidance told me to. I was in the process of buying a house, and really, even I had 6 years, I had a salon in my house, and it was an amazing time for me, and I didn't want to let it go. But I did because I had guidance to, and that was a big decision, and everything changed at that point. And
Yeah, that's big.
yeah, I let it all go, started traveling, and at the same time, you know, I still have family. I still have things, so it's not like everything crumbled apart. It was, I made the decision because my guidance told me to.
How does your family take to all this?
They're supportive.
Okay.
They've always been pretty supportive of just like, well, whatever you have guidance to do, they know how I function now. Very different than what it was before. So before, she probably would have been really fearful, my mom mainly. And now she's just like, all right, well, let me know if you need anything type thing. And, it feels good to have that.
No, that's good. All right, I'm going to give you a last controversial question.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Did anybody during your time at the garden, was there any knocking of boots going on?
Huh.
You don't have to say names.
But
that would be great. That would be great.
With me.
No.
Oh, well, I was going to say definitely not. Definitely not with me. I'm very particular with that. Anyway, so I was asked that question from other people too. I feel like they were so skeptical of me from the get-go, like they did not let me in. So if anything like that was happening, I've heard things, right? Even there was things that were going on there. There was people that left the garden before the cameras got there because they didn't want to partake in it because so much stuff was happening to them. And I got some of those stories before, and I was like, what? And this was right before the cameras came once again, and I'm like seeing all these things unfold. But there was some sexual stuff, you hear like people ask, is there orgies going on, right? And then Tree made a comment of like, oh, let's see if this turns into an orgy during the sexy party or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And so I'm like, I've heard a lot about this, but not ever to my face or seen it. And so I'm assuming that that's a part of it, but who knows?
Well, whether there's the orgy part of it, but then, like I said, there's some that are married there that obviously...
That doesn't mean anything nowadays.
Well, on the next podcast, we're going to talk about... trying to stay in monogamy in a...
Oh, man.
No, it's too... it's just interesting. I think some of those things that are still, at the end of the day, there's still daily lives and things going on outside, and once the cameras are off and so forth, and, like Survivor, they provide all these safety things and condoms if people want to hook up or whatnot, and maybe that does happen, I don't know. But it's like also sometimes like, yeah, I just don't feel... two people that you're feeling confident or sexy enough to be bug bitten and want to have sex, So.
I guess it depends on the person.
Well, hey, the mood's right, and anyway, so I appreciate anything else that you want to, one. I know you just said that you're not big into the promoting part and the social media, but I know you kind of...
I'm trying to be more now.
You're trying, right? You get things out there.
I'm willing to share that side of me more.
So what should people follow you? How do you check you out? Keep it, up with what you're doing, or where's tell that thing right there.
Tell you right there.
Yeah.
Well, I just started all my social medias, so I think I have the main ones. I'm missing Twitter, but they're all the same name on all the platforms. Or Naraya Santi is Facebook, and Instagram, TikTok, and what am I missing? 1, 2, 3. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
YouTube.
I'm starting YouTube. That would be soon. All under Naraya333 .path of purity with _ between each word.
Okay, there you go.
Is that clear enough? If you have any questions, just find me on one of them, and
right.
I will.
So, and again, well, obviously, if you're watching this or listening to this, you probably read the title. But again, when people are going to look, pronounce your spelling of your name.
Naraya.
All right, and how's it spelled?
Narayah.
There you go.
Last name Santi, Santi.
There you go. So then when you're looking for it, I know it's easy, pretty easy to find some of the TikTok stuff out there. Is just type her name and things show. Yeah, and also before we go, I didn't even bring this up, man. You have a huge fan with Rosie.
Oh, yeah. That was surprising to see. Yeah, I would love to hear her thoughts now. She just did a post before about she's about to binge watch it. And I'm waiting for that video to come out next to see what she thinks about it.
All right.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Yep.
So I appreciate you coming on again. I know Chance Encounters again.
Yeah.
You know, I know you were traveling a lot. You're back here in the area here in South Florida. Again, totally, as I said at the start of the show, was Chance Encounters running into somebody who's was at the time a active on the running show, reality TV show, and then to talk about it and then the experiences and so forth, and then finally watch it. It's like, oh, it's more questions, not just about what's it like to be on a reality TV show. It's like, oh, let's like talk deeper into it, and definitely appreciate it. Hopefully, you know, this gets the word out there. You know, you kind of set certain things in corrected, or you know, and so
Some
forth.
of it. There's so much more. And
right.
yeah, maybe we can come and do another one.
Sure,
Or
sure.
yeah, see if Tyler wants to come, or any other person
So-
that's still, you know,
You
in
should,
touch with me.
We should, yeah.
Not
I'd love to host a reunion show. Yeah, you guys should
Yeah.
need a reunion show like they do on like Below Deck or any of those other shows, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we need to do a reunion show of all the guests there that was on the show. So, but yeah, I appreciate Noraya for coming on here. You know, and sharing your experiences with the show, and you know, and how your life. The path you're taking, you know, the path that you're pursuing, and things to, you know, put yourself out there to, you know, help people and be a sunshine.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Very
you
kind
gotta-
of you to
yeah.
say. And I mean, it takes people like you being willing to take the time, energy, and effort to be present, set all this up, and have the questions flow out the way that they do. I love it. And yeah, very synchronistic how it all
Yeah.
unfolded. And I'm grateful for you.
Yep.
Definitely.
So I know I said in the beginning of the show that it wasn't a drums or rums aspect, but yes, watch the show, watch the garden, because there is
Yeah.
actually hand drums at the fire when they're sitting around the
There
fire
is
night.
some, yeah.
So there is a drum reference in the show. So at
There's
least-
some rum there too, I'm sure.
It's a-
I wasn't partaking in it.
So I got to check the box. There was drums. So, but again, all right, I appreciate coming on the show here. Yeah, let's keep following you along. I think you're a very fascinating person.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, all right. Also, don't forget to check out Drums and Rums, the website there. Check out all the socials as well too, his TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So definitely follow us on subscribe on YouTube. Get those subscriber counts up there so we can I can quit my day job and monetize.
Is there a way you can link my stuff there?
Yep, we'll put it
Okay.
all in the show notes and everything, all your links and all
Yeah.
that. So we're gonna.
I'm learning about all this
Yep.
stuff, so and it's just me. Well, now hopefully I can get a little bit of help from you too.
That's right.
but
Yeah.
I really,
So, a podcast mentor maybe.
Yeah,
There you go. So
yay.
yeah.
I'm much in need of that. I was just calling that in recently. So
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, so check us out there, and I appreciate it again. It's Drums and Rums show. Actually, Noraya, this is actually you are my first show back since I stopped. I put a pause on the episode here with the Drums and Rums, the interviews. Right, the channel does still have current shows on it, and a friend of mine who does rum reviews. So our good friend Nia from My Rum Diaries, she does a rum review show on her YouTube channel, but she also posts the audio on our channel on the podcast version. So the show is still going. So you are the first show back
yeah,
in quite some time,
Nice.
actually.
Yeah,
so,
I haven't even seen your other stuff. So
she didn't know what she was getting into. Just
not
like,
at all.
Just like the TV show. Like, yeah, let's
yeah,
see what
it's in
happens.
front of me. I have guidance to do it. Let's go.
Sure, what's wrong? How bad could it have, right? So, all right, folks. Thanks for tuning in tonight. There. So, this is Paul Robertson from Drums and Rums, and this is
Naraya.
thanks all. All right. Let's see what happens. All right. So,
Are we live?
yeah, I think we are. Yeah. So
Guys, see us?
we'll be switching over here in a second here. So we transitioning. Yeah. Listen here.
Are you guys there?
Do a
Or
quick check there. So hey, everybody, thanks for tuning.
hey.
Let's see what happens. All right. Well, I can hear it on my phone. So all right.
All right. So can anyone just say that they can hear us?
Give it a thumbs up there. Give it a thumbs up there. So I think everybody should be able to hear us here. So I'll try to get better in frame here in the camera there. So hey everybody, thanks for definitely tuning in. Here's who you've been waiting for to talk to get all your questions answered. Right. So thanks for all for tuning in. You know on the channel here and so forth. So, no, right. What'd you think there? You know, your first podcast, and then your all these questions and people that are interested in what the show is about, the garden, and all other sorts of kind of interesting thing like boogers, apparently.
Wow. I was actually a little bit distracted because it's really lagging. But so I'm not really sure which to pay attention to. Um,
Yeah,
okay,
just pay attention to the zoom. Just pull the zoom up, and then we'll go through it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And then, all right, so look there and they're answering there. Okay.
yep.
So ask your question again, please.
It's okay. Yeah. So your first podcast.
Yes.
You're again, and then again, everyone in the chat here has got all sorts of questions to ask you about your experience. What was like being in a garden, everything to the energy, not energetic or electric or whatever the boogers were. So
All right, we're gonna narrow this down. We
yeah,
gotta do like one at a time here. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah. No, no.
one really sticks out to me for now. I do see a new one coming in, but to talk about the council book, right?
Mm,
So the last council book that was introduced to the group, so I think either the second one on the new land, I believe, because they had already been writing in one before, but I offered one of my own books to be used, and I have it here.
hmm.
And in this book, so this is what it looks like.
Oh,
This
okay.
is what you're using on the land. And there's literally only 4 pages that had their information on it. So that's probably notes from literally one council. So maybe 2. But that's where that one went. I don't know if there were others, but I just took mine back. That's it.
Got it. So yeah,
So,
yeah, lots of questions here. Let me see here. Again, appreciate everybody there. Definitely really interested in that. Let me try to go back to the beginning here. I think you may have already answered this question. It was I think the very first one here was they asked a question, were you on another reality TV show?
okay. So, I mean, obviously, if you guys watched the podcast, yes, there was a lot about the other reality TV show. And I mean, is there any more specific questions about that people are interested in?
Yeah, just specifically, were you on the show Gainesville, I guess, specifically?
Okay. Well, yeah, definitely was. And yeah, had some experiences on there that, like I said in the podcast, led me to not want to do TV again. But because of how this came to me, I really wanted to use this as an opportunity to be of service in the world. So
Good. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Oops. There we go. So, there was a question here. David had asked. So, who took the notebook? Was it Tree?
Okay, so only thing I heard about notebooks was, oh no, there was a second question about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I still don't know who took my personal notebook that was found in the van.
Mm,
They swear up and down that it was left there, but
yeah.
I don't really see that as a thing. I was walking around with it every day. So Once that happened, someone did, I remember somebody asking a question somewhere in social media, um, and they asked, well, why do I have a new one now? Which is, this is the one that I was using during filming. And I did switch it because I wasn't thinking along the lines that I needed to protect my things in the beginning until I've, had certain experiences with them. So it was my personal diary that I had a lot of other information in. So once that it came up that it was missing and found in there, and I was like, well, now I really need to like protect myself and my things. So I switched out notebook for
Mm,
a brand new one. So
got it. Yeah,
yeah.
so there's some of the folks said they'd really love to read a published diary, obviously anybody had done at their time at the garden, or or touched upon previous years, right? Because I mean, for those that maybe that are in the chat or who have followed or know a little bit more than obviously I did, and like I told you, I didn't know anything about the show. I didn't know anything about the garden. I didn't know anything about specifically these things. And for viewers who are not knowledgeable or not familiar with it, got inserted directly into a flowing existing system and lifestyle and so forth. So it's kind of we've got stuck right in the middle of something that had been very well long going. So I think that would be interesting to kind of know a little bit more, and I think that's probably made more people Google the rainbow, family of the garden, intentional communities, and you know all sorts of all the different characters on the show there. So yeah, let's see. Let me see if I read here. So again, we're just going back up to the top here. We're just trying to catch some of the stuff. Question
Okay,
was,
because I'm reading the ones that are right here,
yeah,
so
if
I
you want
don't
to go
want
there, yeah, go ahead,
to.
grab it.
All right, I just want to know, do you have them like clearly where you see the other ones from before?
Yep, yeah. So I've already from the beginning, all the way from the beginning here. So one of the
Okay,
questions, Nariah, was, did the first episode film take place? Right. So I guess it's more about Peter had asked about I guess the podcast here. No. So did the first episode filming take place, or where did it take place? I'm not quite sure. I don't know if Peter,
I think it said when, and I already answered that in the
got
chat
it. Okay.
where I think it was in March-ish.
Okay.
I'm
Uh,
in, well, I'm in
Rainbow Finch.
January.
The question was, did you ever block a decision in council? How'd that go?
Okay.
I guess we're pretty.
Yeah. So I never actually blocked. What I did do was make suggestions and want to be more a part of, and everything that I suggested and wanted to be a part of got shut down.
Hmm.
So that was I stayed more out of it, and just kind of observed and was present when I was in the land in Tennessee, because I was just really wanting to learn about them, learn their processes, see how it all went, because I was new. But I learned very quickly and I paid attention to detail. And when I'm there, when I'm doing something, I'm all in, 100% focused.
Hmm.
And that was my full-time job per se, right? And I say in that terms because that's what I use on a regular basis. Like I just looked for a vehicle for 2 months and that was my full-time job. I let go of my business. So anything that I'm working on is my full-time job. And so while I was there, I was 100% in and learning all of the things. And that land, their rules and things were already established, right? So I kind of stayed out of it while I was there and just did that, and then witnessed their councils and how they handled things. And then we went to the new land. I thought it was going to be where we were all creating this together, not a continuation of the garden being moved to this new piece of land. So that was a misconception that I think me and a couple other people had. Even Tree thought that the land was going to be a different function than what some other people thought. Like, so, but that's when I really spoke up and started to be more involved directly instead of just witnessing and taking it in, was on the new land. And I got shut down. And I do want to talk about an experience I did have in a council where um so I mean, I don't know how long I should talk about each topic, but there's a lot that I could go into. So with this specific topic, um, I'm going to talk about a couple different things with councils.
Okay.
They did not want to have most of their councils on camera. And that was really sketchy to me. And so they were in the beginning, like we were on the land for like a week before the cameras came to actually start filming us all. And I think that's the problem.
In Tennessee?
No, 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 on
Or
the new land in Missouri.
oh, okay, okay.
I was with them in Tennessee for like a month before the camera crews came. So on the new land in Missouri, um, they were always running around trying to do a council before the cameras got there and after they left. And so I was really like kind of concerned and trying to realize why even more at that point. And there was a council that happened where they were voting people in to be one of the like the main people on the trust and whatnot, or the groups of how people would like function together. So like the welcome committee, and they didn't show any of that.
Hmm,
Dang, there's so much footage that did not get put out there.
interesting.
Um, I mean, not the councils, but I'm just thinking about all
In
the
general.
stuff that we did. Yeah. Um, so and the thing about with what I'm trying to get to is that I wanted to be a part of the finance committee. I've owned a business. I know how to get one of my main intentions was to find out how to get them funds and a regular flow of funds so they could be more solid and like self-sustaining, right? And part of that process, so I volunteered in the beginning when we were on the land in Tennessee, figuring things out. I volunteered to help get money, help get funds for the resources that we needed for building, right? So I went around to Home Depot and Lowe's and one other place, I think, and just got, wrote a letter and, they helped me out. They had some old letters and things, and I like revamped it and went into the places and talked to them about what we're doing this project and got them to give us some discounts and some coupons like
Hmm.
$150, $200, a percentage off. And so I felt really called to be a part of that for them. And then when it came down to it, they and they have one part of it is a valid point. When I said I wanted to be a part of the community, there was like a whole thing about around it. And I do have some footage that I may be putting out there eventually. I'm not sure how much time and energy I'm going to be putting into this because I can make this a full-time job, but I'm not getting paid. I didn't get paid then. I spent lots of money doing that. So we'll see how far it goes. But um I wanted to be a part of it. They didn't want me to be a part of it. And one of their only valid reasonings that I remember was because I was new,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So
it definitely right. I think like going back to the notebook there again as a viewer. And again, we don't know what's edited, again, we're only being fed, if you want to call it that, exactly what we're given. And
right.
I'll tell you that was, going through your thing, whether people felt like you deserved it or whatever they thought about you, you know, all this stuff about inclusiveness, that right there was like you were trying to do your thing or your book, find your book, and everyone just kind of stood around like the mob mentality. I think was just like it was supposed to be about inclusiveness, but it was like almost reverse inclusiveness at times.
It's exactly reverse inclusiveness.
Yeah.
But in this council specifically, though, too, it was a very pertinent marker that stood out for me about this inclusiveness wall up, like who they let in, who they don't, and how that their words are so contradictory that in that same exact council, 2 minutes later, somebody else was like, "Oh, well, I vote in Zans to be in that position," right? And then they're like, "Oh, wait, no, I can't do that because she's new too." And so it's like it wasn't this true, like solid understanding of why they were making the decision they were against me. It was just something that they could say that they think made sense in that moment. So it wasn't like this actual reason. And it was just so off-putting for them to immediately say, oh, but Zans can do it when she was newer than me.
Hmm.
I was there with them for a long time in Tennessee before Zans came.
All right.
So it's really interesting just to see that whole aspect of that.
Right. Right.
Um, and okay, so and I appreciate you, moving on and talking about other things. I just really needed to get to that point because that was part of the council thing.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I think you hit it pretty pretty well there. Again, there's a lot to it, as you mentioned. I think you even told me was that council was a that you got voted out was a 4 or 5 hour council that, of course, we not gonna, it's got condensed down to certain parts, but yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely so let me go back here. There was a question here. I'll just kind of work the most recent and work backward. If you weren't interested, so again, somebody was asking about filming stuff, and it's like, I don't know, David, is, look, we all have our phones and we all have our things. Who aren't filming things nowadays, I guess, really,
What
but
was this question?
it's all right. So if you weren't interested in fame, then why did you film all the footage talking shit, even spreading rumors for the finale? So I don't know what the reference is
I,
there.
I I would need clarification on that because I have no idea what he's referencing.
Right. So all right, David. So if you,
David, you
yeah.
need to clarify because I have no idea what you're talking
Yep.
about.
All right. Let me go back up here. Rainbow Finch asked, "Did anyone on either land ever tell you about the primary triangle? Have you properly experienced the triangle cult at all?"
Has anyone on the land properly explained to me the triangle
The
cult?
primary triangle.
The primary triangle of a cult?
Yeah. So I guess there's a. Ever tell you about the primary triangle? Have you ever properly experienced the triangle cult at all? So I don't know,
I mean, if that was a triangle cult, maybe, but
but it
otherwise,
doesn't ring a
no.
bell. Doesn't ring a bell. Okay. All right.
I
So
Send me information, please. All the information that you can. I would love to keep learning. I'm learning about some other things myself. And so if anyone wants to share anything, please do.
all right. All right. So Evelyn has a question here. Why was Patrick always leaving?
Um, I fully believe that, okay, great question. It's reminding me of a couple other things, so it's gonna lead back into answering this, but um, okay, maybe I'll answer it first. I know that it was planned for me to be asked to leave, and it was planned from the very beginning. Maybe in Florida, when they actually voted me in, like they had this thought process of she can be used for this certain character and it's going to look good and it's going to make the show like this or whatever, like using me as a scapegoat. And I'm not sure when that actually formed. I think the producers might have had some of that as their intention too, because they had shared with the group, I heard through comments and stuff on Facebook, that the producers really wanted me to be a part of the show. And so I never got told that, right? I'm hearing this from other people that were on the other side in the garden. And so I'm not sure when that was solidified, but I had brought so much stuff to give to these people and to build up the property and to provide for them clothing, resources, like things that I can provide services for them. But I was going to make this big tent and it had a stove and all kinds of things. And I didn't get to do any of that. But point is, I brought up the big red truck full of stuff and I had ordered some things to bring there. And I went up there a lot sooner than the orders were going to be delivered in Florida. So I drove back down to Florida, or I got a ride back down to Florida from someone in the garden, drove another vehicle back up full of stuff. And they were extremely concerned about this, like overly concerned that it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, what do you mean I have a lot of stuff? Like that was their thing. It was like, you have all this stuff. What are you doing with it? I was like, I brought it to share with you guys. Like, what do you mean? What am I going to do with it? And there was like some backside comment that I heard from, I think it was Shine actually. Julie and Shine were like standing, I was like up on the truck and they're standing far away. And they're like, well, what are you going to do with all your stuff if you have to leave? And I was like, what do you mean if I have to leave? And then it didn't really register fully right then. But it made sense later
Hmm.
after seeing things unfold and how it all played out of like they
Hmm.
knew that it would be an issue for me to actually get off the land if I had two vehicles and all of this stuff there. And I just find that very interesting.
Yeah.
So back to the point of them planning, they planned, they knew that they were going to ask me to leave the new land very quickly, and Patrick didn't want to be a part of it. And he, from what I see, what I've seen, my experience of him, besides the direct conflict with Tree, there's a lot of drama with that. But from what I saw, he wants to stay out of the drama and out of the limelight. He is not the face, right? As someone that is, to me, the leader, they're the one that sits back further away and they don't get involved with the things. And that's what I saw happening.
Hmm. That's
And that's
interesting.
one form of a leader, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I know everybody was trying to talk about there's nobody who's over anybody or, structure and so forth. I think, Tyler, had mentioned it. There's got to be some level of structure in there. So, there's a question here. Uh, was how did you get in touch with Hunter Robinson?
um I didn't actually know that I didn't know about the garden before. My mom met Moon at the farmers market. I didn't know anything about the garden. I didn't know about their controversy until I was in Tennessee and they started telling me about the Vice thing and the TikTok stuff. And I was like, that's really interesting. But I never looked them up. I was just kind of present and I trusted them and they told me whatever, like all kinds of things around why that happened and this and that. And I was just kind of like there taking it in. I really didn't think too much into it. And so I had never looked anyone up or anything, never questioned them until I got to the new land in Missouri.
Hmm.
And because that's when shit really started hitting the fan. And so it was the producers, honestly. I still didn't look anyone up until I left, and when I started filming with the producers, they started saying the term cult, and I was like, "What the fuck is this really like? What's actually happening
Huh.
here?" I was really confused, and so yeah, they gave me the information for him, and I contacted him, and he was willing to do a video. So
Yeah, that's
I've been in touch with several people from
hmm.
the garden now, like prior, like ex people.
Yeah, that's I again going into the show. I think there was a lot of how whatever was explained versus what actually happened and so forth. So, um, let's see here. Let's see here. We got a couple. Let me jump around a little bit here. Uh, what was the craziest, most dramatic council story you had that didn't involve you at all?
That didn't involve me at all.
Yeah.
A council, a council. Okay.
Yeah, if you don't
Uh,
have one.
no, I just need to process and go back and find that memory. So this would be considered a council. So you can call a council for anything. And in this case, this one was pretty startling to me. I don't know if he's still here, Derek, but there was some really interesting stuff going on around, people wanting to be a part of the show, not wanting to be a part
Hmm.
of the show, wanting to be filmed, not being filmed, how much of this, how much of that. And there was a council. I'm not going to talk too much about it actually here because I'm going to talk to him and we're going to
Hmm.
do a video together.
Okay.
Um, but I would say that Derek's council was probably the most interesting and the one that took me back the most and really made my ears perk up and think twice a little bit more.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna let him tell his story, but that would be the answer to that.
So, what was the thing? Okay. All right. Let me see here. Why did you light the fire in the teepee, and was there a big freak out about it?
Say that again.
So the question was, why did you light the fire in the teepee, and was there a big freak out about it? Maybe it's
Who's
been a
asking
hold on here. I got to go back here. So
that? There was no
yeah,
anything about that.
let's see here. David Resler.
Okay.
So
So
I don't know.
that's a surname or somebody he knows somebody because during the filming, I was the one that was okay. We're gonna talk about TB. I could go a lot into the TB Native American stuff, but a good point to bring that up. So TB lighting of the fire, they didn't even show that right in the filming, in the final edit or whatever. That there was a ceremony, right? So I was dressed in white and put a feather in my hair as a ceremonial gesture, right? And so the fire ceremony consists of lighting the fire. And Hoka, which is the native, him and another man that he came with and his daughter, they came and they told us all about the tradition and everything. And that was like, they cut that down to 2 minutes or something like that. That was like a 2 or 3 hour talk too.
Oh wow.
And so people are this big misinformation that I said from my mouth that I put a feather in my hair for the TV to look like a Native American. Not on any level was that a thing. It was to be respectful about tradition and to be present in the moment. And I was involved in the ceremony. So, and I was actually asked to do it. And another thing about like being respectful or not, I actually spent probably the most time. The other man's name was Jamie in Hoka. I spent time with him after leaving the land. And while I was there, the first thing that Jamie said to me, which is the man that actually drove in the bus that had the poles on the top, that was his bus. And the first like conversation I had with him, he immediately was like, "Oh, you have sage? Please come into my bus. Sage me, sage this space. We need it, blah, blah, blah." And I found that to be very comforting that he could see me and was willing to have me partake in that with him for him. And
Yeah.
so, um, yeah,
Okay.
it was a sacred gathering and a ceremony. So it was out of respect.
Yeah. Look, people, do certain things to. I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say is that, there's right now during this time of the year, there's a lot of people that may not be Jewish but are supporting Jewish people, and they've got menorahs in their windows, and even though they have Christmas decorations outside, and they're still maybe part of it or recognizing or respecting it or supporting it or whatever. So I don't know. It's whatever. Question here, Norai, is how is the place in Florida connected to Tennessee?
Um, how is the place in Florida connected to Tennessee? So Stacy Hessler actually owns the land in Florida, which is Shine, and it's part of their network of land, is what I know.
Hmm. Okay.
They have another lake one, the Missouri, Tennessee, Florida. I don't know where the lake one is.
Hmm. Okay. Um, just again, just something that's just popped up there. Did anyone on the land feel it was a worthwhile project to build a tiny camp with miniatures of everything on site? How much time were they willing to invest in a tiny endeavor? I'm not sure. I'm just reading the questions.
Did they,
Did anyone
they
on the land feel it was worthwhile project to build a tiny camp with miniatures of everything on site? How much time were they willing to invest in this tiny endeavor? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't really know what that means.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
like a seed camp, like the seed kitchen where it was the smaller kitchen first while they were building the big one.
I
Like that's the only thing that I
yeah.
can put to that.
So I don't know. It's I've been to Legoland in Florida and I've seen the little tiny Lego villages maybe. I don't know. But but anyway, um
I,
go ahead.
I don't know. I was like, I vaguely remember. It's really not important. I vaguely remember something about a tiny something, but not even enough to say anything about. So
Right. Yeah. All right. So Yeah, so there's some questions about, was there any Native Americans living in the land or, in that areas in Missouri that you
Uh,
know of?
Not that I'm aware of. I
Okay.
mean, they invited Hoka, which he was native. He's the one that brought the poles and led the ceremony and everything. But no one, I mean, Derek, that was in their group before, that left because of all of the anguish that he was dealing with. But that's all that I know.
Right. Okay. So, again, I'm not quite sure again about. No, seed camp is one thing. The tiny camp is a teeny little camp, very important. So, don't know. Just reading the questions here. So, uh,
Okay.
yeah. So I think again, it's anyone who questioned that whether or not people were going on there didn't know what they're getting into or wanted to learn. I think everyone who showed up on the show who were new people were going there to learn, right? Including Tyler, right? He may
Yeah.
have a lot of background and experience, but everyone who went on there, maybe people that were maybe already preppers or had some experience, they were going on the show or going to the garden to go learn certain things, right? And so everybody kind of went through that. Not just you, right? That you wanted to learn to kind of be involved and be part of that community, but I don't know. It's
So this goes more into my purpose of being there. Like I wanted to be there for several different reasons, and I touched on it in the podcast. But it was more than anything to just be of service and to figure out how I can most be of service to this group of people. And that entails being present, asking questions, learning about their systems, and figuring out where the holes are, what needs to be evolved, what needs to shift to be more harmonious. And it's not about, someone was making a comment about I'm not more evolved. It's not about that. There's different world views, if people are aware of that, and it's different perspectives and way that we move in the world, how we think, how we choose to do all of our things, right? There's just different levels of it, right? And so by being present with them, spending time asking questions, witnessing, I could figure out what it is that they need. And when I started to realize that, I remember one council specifically, um, where there was drama happening between Tree and Patrick, and I gave a couple like long, devoted, like heartfelt responses of how to use their inner self and their tools and to really like not be so in their emotions. And I started to realize like, okay, it made so much sense of like, yeah, I may have people that can be resourceful and bring them lumber regularly or whatever, but my personal part was to be there to provide them with solutions for their social infrastructure and to their emotional states, right? And so it fit right into also being present and being there to talk to one another while the show was carrying out. So like when maybe Tree was feeling so paranoid, like my thought process was to be present, be close with them during this time frame to help them evolve in that way, but also like as the show was carrying out, like talking to someone when they're having an emotional breakdown or whatever is happening, right? And they don't have that within their current group. And so I saw that as one of my largest puzzle pieces that I could offer, to them.
okay.
Um, yeah.
So, let's see, one second. So, are the people still on the land in Missouri? Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is an interesting one, Norai. I guess, yeah, whether it's slim pickings, but if you had to go on a date with any one person that lived with you on the land, who would it be with?
That's an interesting.
And if you had to, and what would you wear?
What? Wait, what? Who and what would I
I
wear?
guess this is now we're now starting another show here. It's called the Garden Dating Game or something like that,
Oh
maybe.
no, no, count me out on that one. Honestly, I would say, and I'm not, I know that I need a male partner if I were to have a partner, but I would say Zans or Jag because those are the people that I connected with most emotionally. And so, yeah, if I were to go on a date, we could do like both of them. So us three, our triangle, as a friendship date. And what I would wear. I mean, what? I guess it depend on where we were going.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I'll leave that.
Yeah. Where's this date? Where's the date night consist of? Right. Yeah. Um, the question about, I guess, obviously the show, did you get paid? Did Tyler get paid? Can you talk a little bit
I didn't
about,
get paid anything. Yeah,
really?
I got nothing. I spent thousands of dollars. Like I don't even want to say how much. Um, on I mean, time, gas to go. Oh my gosh, all the things that I didn't even get to give them. I have boxes of stuff that I didn't get to hand out, but maybe it'll be for another community or something, whatever.
Okay.
But so yeah, I didn't get paid. All of the people that came in as the new people other than me, they all got paid. Yeah, for sure. And the people of the land got paid. Tree got paid directly and supposedly gave that money, to the project or the group. Um, and yeah, they got paid a lot. And there's one thing, that we were told that we can't say. So we'll see if that one ever comes out,
Hmm.
but I'll wait for that one.
Okay. Hey, everyone's always having to have somebody sign an NDA. So totally get it. And I don't want you, out
Yeah.
of sake of litigation, get in trouble. So,
I mean, they actually are, it's already all over Facebook.
oh, okay.
So, go read those things.
Mm.
Most of what you read is pretty legitimate. I'm just not gonna say it from my mouth.
Okay. So, while, because it just popped up here. So, I guess, well, I guess this is going to be a little probably difficult to kind of answer, but since we just said it, was what does your NDA forbid you from talking about? I guess, can you even talk about what you're not allowed to talk about?
Well, yeah, can I talk about what I'm not allowed to talk about? I think that's a little
I
bit
think that's a trick question there.
that. No, yeah, there's just certain things about the structure of how the show was formed, I
Hmm.
guess. I don't really
Okay.
know how to put it.
Got it.
But a lot of it's out of respect from what I was asked. I don't even know. I mean, I need to go back and see what I actually signed. I know I signed like a appearance release,
Hmm.
but I don't think that I signed, and unless it's in there, unless it's within it.
All right.
And that was one of the sketchy things is like, oh, here we're walking around on the phone and the producers are like, here, sign this, here. And we're like running around filming and like, hold on, I need to read this thing. But um yeah, I don't think I signed a piece of paper that said NDA on the top.
Hmm.
I was just asked, they were
Right.
like, we just don't say this one thing. And I don't know if it's okay being as it's all over and done with, or maybe not because there's going to be a second season. So
Mm.
like, I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Okay. All right. Whether people accept your answer, it is what it is, and I totally get the um, being, hey, being careful, right? I don't want to get you to walk into something. All right. So apparently, this whole dating question totally is now burning up the chat here.
Goodness.
So. So Zan's, Jag, and Naraya, the newest, hottest thruple. So yeah. So anyway, it's everyone's. That's it. You just lit. There's your hot
Oh no,
take.
I started a
There's
thing.
your hot take. All right. So what was the purpose of the face paint you did for the show? I guess.
The henna?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had been thinking already for a while, like I wanted to do a face tattoo of some sort. And it was just like perfect timing. I was already learning about Yagua because that's what it is. It's Yagua, not henna.
Mm.
And Yagua is another plant. It's kind of derived in the same way. And it's also a powder that you mix and you make it, a solution and it stains the skin.
Mm.
And it's a bluish black color. So it looks more like a real tattoo to me. And so I was just messing around with it and came up with that design and it felt right. And you have to be like consistent when you're filming. I knew that. So I knew going into it that if I started with it, I had to have it the whole time. So that was kind of treacherous to like make sure that it was, I mean, it stays a little bit less because it's on your face and you wash and you peel more than like
Right.
on your back of your hand. But um so yeah, it was an artistic outlet and also practice. And
Okay.
I think that it was kind of ironic that Jag, somebody that I'm closest with, also had all of the face tattoos and piercings and stuff.
Right.
So feels true to me, and I'm still, feeling it out. I just wish that there were better ink, and getting something on your face is pretty intense,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I really want to make sure that it's the right thing before I actually decide to do it. Um, but yeah, I eventually want to do my whole left side, maybe.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Did anyone take you up on the scalp care or Brazilian wax?
I didn't get to be there long enough. I would have happily washed everyone's hair. I was gonna do like, you know, crown opening, energetic things to help people be more present and whatever else that they needed. But
Mm,
like that, as a cosmetologist, I absolutely loved doing shampoos for people. And this was years and years ago, like that I actually did hair. Um, and so I wasn't really awakened yet. Like I
mm.
was doing hair more before I got sober.
Okay.
And so it just made sense to me, like as time went on, like how why I was so connected to that. And I just wanted to bring that service, to them for multiple reasons, energetic, and then also to help clean.
Right. So again, the answer there about being, getting paid, kind of got quite a few folks kind of really surprised about that. But Evelyn asked, who got paid on that show? I think you may have mentioned that already, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Every like so all the new people that were brought in, and Tree,
Hmm.
like directly to them. And then there was the other thing I can't talk.
Okay. All right. So what kind of ceremony do you practice personally, and how strongly is ritual and ceremony tied to your personal feelings of identity? That's pretty deep.
Mm, ritual and personal feelings of identity. Well, everything we do can be considered ritual, right? Waking up, going to the bathroom, cooking food, getting on your phone, you know? And you could do that. You could put anything in those slots. And so my, I guess, ritual would be getting up in the morning, getting on my knees and praying. I am in no way religious whatsoever. I'm open-minded. That's what I call my religion is open-mindedness. And but that is part of my process nowadays of waking up, being connected immediately, staying present through conscious contact. That's ceremony, like every moment of every day, talking to my higher power, being present and focusing on what is my highest path, what is God's will for me, and consistently deciphering through the mind's chatter of the personal ego and personality versus my higher path. And this is a constant thing that I do every moment of every day. And I can consider that a ceremony.
Mm,
Um, and so, yeah, just conscious contact is the biggest ceremony that we could have, I
okay.
think.
So I guess it's your person, your belief system, your I would venture to kind of be careful to kind of ask it in a way of you kind of touched upon it there is like religion. You do pray, and maybe it's not to a I guess the question is, were you brought up in a religious, manner growing up, in one of the, main religions, I guess most people are here in the U.S.
No,
Mm,
no. I feel like so my mom and dad were divorced and then they were each with someone throughout the years. And so I guess I was kind of introduced to a couple different things through like I remember like my dad's girlfriend's daughter. I went with her a couple times to church when I would stay at her house and things like that, but it's not like there was ever a specific like routine and place and religion and this church and this time.
mm,
That was never a thing.
okay. So let's see here. There was a question here. I guess this is interesting. Wondering if you would know or believe or think that Tree has his SAG card.
What is
It's
that?
like Screen Actors Guild cards. Like basically anyone who's doing actual movies or TV shows. You have to have
Oh, I
a
have
card.
no idea.
Yeah. Okay.
No idea.
There was an LOL at the end of that question. So
Okay.
so you never know. I mean, everyone's almost got a SAG card nowadays. But again, they're
Are there?
all on strike. All right. So here, if you heard an otherworldly voice in your head clearly telling you something which you believe to be untrue, insisting this thing is actually true and correct, would you listen and be changed?
You kind of broke up there
Yep.
too.
Okay.
Just read it one more time slowly.
Yeah. Yep. All right. If you heard an otherworldly voice in your head clearly telling you something which you believe to be untrue, insisting this thing is actually true and correct, would you listen and be changed? So I guess it's like
If okay, there's something contradictory there. If it depending on the wording, maybe if I read it, but from what I'm understanding, it's saying something. If there was a voice in my head that was saying something that I did not believe was true, but then who's insisting that it was true? The voice is
I
insisting that what
I
I'm saying is
guess
true.
yeah. So if you're in an inner otherworldly voice, I guess if some spiritual or I don't whoever whatever was telling you
Mhm.
something that you believe untrue, but was trying to tell you it was true and correct, would you listen and would you be changed? I guess there would be something that would have to really give you enough, you know, proof or believe you enough, right?
Okay, and be changed. I don't
Yeah.
remember. Okay, so like shifting my perspective is kind of what that seems like of
Yeah.
like an opportunity to grow,
Or
right? With
maybe you had like you mentioned, like you had a kind of or people go through a spiritual change, or I don't know,
yeah.
a rainbow finch. If you want to kind of
Okay.
elaborate a little bit more on that, but
I mean, I think
yeah,
I get it.
yeah,
So what the only thing that comes to me is that like this is where the gift of deciphering comes in and consistently practicing that because like I said, maybe that question's coming based off of what I just said, of like being able to witness the mind and knowing like recognizing what the mind is, what it's saying versus guidance from my higher self or source or higher power, whatever you want to call it, right?
mm,
And so deciphering all that. So if I had something that came in that my current perspective did not align with, I sit with it. I meditate, I clear, I ask questions, I go to God, and I know how to use my tools to get clarity and to decipher through all of that. And I would do that until I was clear.
mm.
And then and then there's like a process of seeing through the choices that you make based off of that of what opens up and what feels closed. And this is like an internal feeling or a knowing or like physically seeing things like open or closed.
Okay,
Like there's just so many ways to just have that be clarified for
okay. So there's a
myself.
little bit more clarification here, all right? All right. So I'm asking, I guess, if you are open to revelation or if you lean more heavily on your critical thinking. Is a magic voice in your head going to convince you, or are you still a skeptic?
Say that one more
Yeah, I know.
time.
It's all
The
right.
wording
So
is
yeah,
off.
so Rainbow Finch is asking. I'm asking if I guess if you are open to revelation,
Oh, I
or
see it.
yeah, okay. So yeah, very at the bottom right there.
Is a magic voice in your head going to convince you, or are you still a skeptic? I follow my guidance. I follow my guidance. So I'm not really sure. Like critical thinking is logic, which is the mind,
Hmm.
right? My intuition is a knowing and it comes from a higher source.
Okay.
So I don't live in the mind.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to ask a question here. Totally up to you if you want to answer it, because I don't want to be called out that we're like avoiding questions here. A
Okay.
question was, what's your ethnicity ancestry?
I'm Italian.
There you
I've
go.
said that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Mr. Taco wasn't listening, so
Okay. Yeah, that was in the podcast. I think, right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
I know
sure.
I've,
We've
I
talked a
mean, I
lot. Yeah,
people
we've talked a lot over
are saying
recently.
that's an issue that I'm Italian and wearing a feather, you
Yeah.
know. Just to mention that one more time, my mom was studying the Red Path when I was young, and I was involved around a lot of Native American traditions and things when I was younger. So I feel like a lot of that was ingrained into my being and my programming and what feels true to me.
Hmm.
And not only that, but past lives, I know that I've been Native for sure.
Yeah. Very cool. I don't know. So it's up to you how much longer you want to go here. I know we're probably almost close to about an hour here, kind of going through, and if we didn't, that's up to you, Narai. If you want to, keep going here. I know. Definitely appreciate everybody hanging out here in the chat. There, I know a lot of, some of you very supportive of the show. Thanks for definitely tuning in the podcast there. Definitely thanks for some of you that have already went over and subscribed over to my channel there. A little bit about me that you don't know. Again, I know I'm not the person that you came here to see, right, and ask questions of, but
I appreciate you being here, Paul. It's
yeah,
been beneficial.
yeah, no, yeah, I appreciate it there. So I know it's like we said, fellow Floridians, right? As we said on the show, there, chance encounter. How do I go into a restaurant and run into somebody who's on a reality TV show that's currently airing, right? So that wasn't so definitely pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
um,
I mean, just a couple things like this one, I'm just like going through and I'm asking myself, is there anything else that I want to say right now? Not really sure what this ties into, but when it was the producer's idea to film with me off the land, right?
hmm,
After they asked me to leave.
okay,
And it was just like they were I would like ask them what's going on, how's it going? And it was just an interesting point for them to tell me at one time that all of the phones that they gave them went missing. And I was like, that is so interesting. I was like, they're deleting stuff that they think it all is incriminating or anything that's involving me. Um, or I don't know what, but it was just an interesting thing to learn that they were like missing for a few days, and then all of a sudden they all pop back up. Nobody knows what happened to them. They were gone, and then here they are.
hmm.
Uh,
They weren't all in the hidden under the seat of the van, were they?
right? Were there any diaries around it?
Wow, we've been here before.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So there was a question there. What was your least favorite part of filming?
I mean, finding out that these people were not fucking legitimate, excuse my language, but I was actually ready to be a part of something big and show the world like this is something that we can do together. And I wanted to support them and to be a part of with the things that I can offer. And I thought that it was going to be like a real thing.
Mm,
And it was just disappointing to a degree of like, well, I guess this is what it is. And, I just stay present and I'm like, Lord, why are you putting me here? Like, why? If I can't bring my gifts to the table and share and we're not doing this thing, what is it that I'm doing? And I saw my purpose shift so
mm,
clearly from being of service, because you can't be of service to people that don't want to grow, that don't want to evolve. And so, and in the way that I'm here to be of service, right? And so my purpose shifted to shedding light on the truth of a thing that is out in the world. There's a way that some groups function that is not the most beneficial or harmonious for people's inner being, right? Because there's so much torment and trauma and just I don't even know. Like I know what I experienced, but the stories that I've heard, I could only imagine being the person that was there for years, having brainwashing and dark manipulation and all of these horrid things going on to them. And it's very covert. And there's things that are so pinpointable to me that I can see of like certain memes that have been made and just conversations that the show put out. I'm listening to a book about learning about dark psychology and how these people function. And I can literally pinpoint and highlight highlight the exact time frames where these certain things were being had. And it's intriguing to learn about, to me, right? It's like dive all in, learn about it, shed light on the truth, but it's also really, sad in a certain way. But I understand that in this world, in this realm, there has to be dark and light. And so I appreciate everyone for where they're at and their part in the world. We all just get we have the power of choice to choose where we want to function.
Mm,
And so I know that I choose the light.
yeah. Now, like I said about my podcast here is, like again, like we talked before the show, and you didn't know a whole lot about me or what my show was about and so forth. Is again, like I told you, it says I just feel I don't have time for bullshit. I don't have time to be negative. We only have an infinite amount of time on this earth, and
Mhm.
we have there's right now the world, or maybe this country more so, just feels divisive, and like let's just kind of enjoy our time together, and be honest. I think sometimes that's a very difficult thing too, is people don't know how to be honest, and people don't know how to talk to others
Mhm.
and tell, and be respectful of each other's. And hey, look, you don't have to like somebody, but at least you try to be somewhat respectful for them. So, um,
Comes from emotional states, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
for sure.
what
Yeah.
emotional state are you able to function in? Because not everybody has those tools and the ability to be honest. And I can speak like this because before I got sober, I was a completely different person and I could be, in some of those other people's shoes and functioning how
Mm,
they are. So instead, I've learned how to shift my perspective and live in a higher vibration.
all right. Question here. Let me see here. So this is essentially, so Sean Patrick Moore is asking, uh, do you think a communistic society could be successful long term?
So I've been traveling for the past 2 years or so, talking with lots of different people. I went to some rainbow gatherings. I'm basically researching, gathering information and also resources, to help create a long-lasting, harmonious community. And I do believe that it's possible, but I know that there's certain things that it takes. And I know that there's a certain type of person that it takes to be able to do the things to make it work.
Mm,
And so it's about willingness, it's about awareness, the power of choice, what are we going to actually choose? And having those tools inside to be able to handle our emotions.
mm,
And that's part of it, right? And
right.
then there's, that is my main focus for, what I can offer is the social infrastructure versus the physical.
Right.
And so um yeah, I do believe that it's possible, but I meant to say this, like within the travels, that's the number one thing I hear, that they don't last. And so a part of me, that shows me, like I get excited when I hear that, and that's what shows me, like that's part of my purpose, is to be like, oh, you know what? I'm here to help make that be a thing, right?
Hmm.
So um yeah, I'm extremely grateful for seeing how things don't work. And that has been a pattern in my life that the universe has shown me and put me in situations that don't work first so I can learn what not to do.
Mm,
Um, and that has been such a gift. And the experiences have been quite intense, including this one.
mm,
But it's such a beneficial thing to be shown what not to do first, because then you don't have to make that mistake yourself. And so that's what I've learned, is living wisely, that I don't have to fall on my face first. I get to learn from other
mm,
people's mistakes. And yeah, so I definitely see that as part of this experience. And I do know that it's possible. And
yeah.
I'm going to continue on my path because I've been shown that that is what part of my path is now. I let go of my business to be here and do this,
All right.
because I have guidance to. So
Okay. Well, maybe just do a couple more questions and then wrap it up. So, all right, if you were asked for a joke, toke, or a smoke, what would you offer?
joke, toke, or
A
smoke.
toke, or a smoke? It's a reference to a Steve Miller. I don't know. Maybe is that not a reference to Steve Miller song? So
I mean,
joke.
that's no question, definitely a joke for sure.
So, Yeah, so a lot of definitely good questions here. Question you went to Rainbow. Which ones did you go to Rainbow?
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
which ones?
that's actually how I started my journey. I kept hearing the term rainbow. One of my clients started talking about it. And I just kind of put two and two together. I was like, okay. And then I heard that there was one in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I heard not to go to the Ocala one. So, in the last year that I had heard about it, then like somebody had just got shot in the face
Oh, jeez.
and I don't know, like somewhere in the tooth or something. Um,
Leave
but
it to Florida.
yeah, well, so then it's yeah, not to go to that one. I went to Apalachicola, I think was my first one. And then a couple in New Mexico in the Gila Mountains, and I don't remember the third one.
Hmm.
But yeah, those were some interesting experiences too.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I my sobriety threatens a lot of people that aren't. And it's just because a part of their self that's not ready for that.
mhm.
Uh, it's that pushback in that way. And that was something that happened very, very clearly at one of those. Yeah.
Got it. So I definitely have to say I appreciate you. I know as we've spoken that a lot of people with the reference in the name of the podcast is can kind of be a little construed and a little bit kind of off-putting for some. Definitely, I appreciate you seeing through. It's just a name, right, of the show. And it's, we didn't talk about any of those things really. I know we
Yeah.
kind of hinted a little bit, but, we really didn't, again, it wasn't neither of those two things really. And that's a lot of times it's just the name of a show, right? And, it's a good conversation, engaging. I hope people did feel like it was a good engaging, podcast, learning more. Like I said I would like. What did I do? I text you like a couple days later, right after we met, and I watched the show. That first episode, I was like, "Holy shit!" This is crazy, and I only seen one episode. And again, I guess it sucks everybody in because it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there's no judgment. Like when I say anything about people that aren't sober right now, absolutely no judgment. So
Yeah.
like with you and the drums and rums name, like it is a thing that I'm aware of like about representation and things like that, but more than what the mind thinks or worrying about what other people will think, I follow my guidance. And I needed assistance with doing a podcast, and there you were.
Hmm.
And my guidance said that it was okay to do it. So I listen to things like that. I don't pay attention to the BS of the personality and the ego and
Right.
worrying what people think. And I gained those tools from being sober because before it was the completely opposite.
Yeah.
Um, but no, like I said, I love everyone for where they're at. And everyone is perfectly in the place that they're meant to be on their journey. And I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity because it has done exactly what I knew, like why my guidance wanted me to do this, and the connections that I've made through just being present on media, not even the TV, but just on like the social medias. Like um I wasn't a part of them for the 8 years, in between. I mean, I had some kind of, but I didn't really partake. And but it's really just made some room for some real connections. And that's the best thing that I can say about media as the tool, like using it as a tool and not letting it use you.
Hmm.
And just it is such a gift to be able to connect with people from everywhere. And now I can collaborate, and there's people that want me to go all these places to help them build a community. And I think it's amazing. And then also helping them with interpersonal things. And it's just such a gift all the way
Yeah.
around. So I'm grateful. I wouldn't change anything, just like nothing else from my past. Everything happens for a reason, and I just trust.
Cool. All right. Well, I know there was, probably some questions we may have not caught, but I guess, we can go through and, hit you
Yeah,
up and definitely,
another one.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe there, show the support. Again, if you like the show, yeah, I guess you're going
Thank
to
you
do,
so much, Paul.
yeah,
Yeah, subscribe. He's been such a help to me. He's building his, viewers as well. So if you feel called to, I think maybe we'll be able to do another one together in the future. I'm not sure. At the very least, I'll be doing one myself sitting here. But yes, he is a great man for being willing to partake and assist in this. So please subscribe
Yeah.
if you feel called to.
Yeah, no, thanks. No, right. I'm starting after we wrap up here. I'm starting up a show, the dating game. The garden dating.
Oh God, we should do it.
Oh my God.
Intentional community dating.
There you go. There you go. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
So, oh my God. Yeah. Well, hey, people are, if all the zombies eating everybody and everyone that's left is only on the garden, someone's gonna have to, do a little something there. They gotta
Yeah, we're
keep
gonna need babies somehow,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my
Oh,
God.
wonder what those babies would look like. What?
Well, yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna be nice and not say anything. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, to carry out the rest, I mean, if everyone was in a cult, I don't think that would be beneficial.
That's true. True. So thanks, Narai. Again, had a great time here. Hopefully, like I said, everyone, if you got your questions, I know she'll follow up or answer it in
One
the
way or another.
yeah, if in the chat there. Again, subscribe to her stuff there. She's starting out there on our YouTube channel there. If you haven't already,
Yeah.
hit that subscribe button, the like button. Those are the kinds of things. If you want more, get some. Again, all this stuff. I mean, I know it kind of sounds all BS about subscribing and reviewing and rating and things like that. I know it sucks and it kind of sounds to be lame at times, but it is an important thing because that's how, I hate to say the machine, the algorithms do actually help kind of get these things out there. As you probably know, over the last few years, a lot of talk about social media and algorithms, but yeah, and again,
I'm trying to learn about it all, but yeah, it's all new to me.
oh, yeah, it's almost like YouTube kind of the algorithms always seem to change and kind of shift in certain things and so forth. So, um, yeah,
Yeah,
so
I guess one more time, can I just reiterate that,
yeah, go for it.
I didn't really want to be on camera or filmed or on media for that, any of it. And that I feel like I'm willing to do it because there's a higher purpose within it. And so I'm still feeling out how often I want to maintain being present on media and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. It's like everything that you're doing seems like so much. I don't know if I would be able to do it myself. So if there's anyone else out there that, has the ability to share information on how to accomplish things, Paul has been helping me out a lot. But yeah, I mean, I know that you said that you're willing, but I'm not sure for how long. So
I hear you. Like I said, I've started 2 more shows amongst the break I took, and again, this is the first podcast interview I had done since probably the beginning of the summer. So, what a way to come back to the drums and rums, starting that back up amongst the other 2 shows I started up as well too at the same time. So I'm a glutton for punishment. I guess it's good to keep busy and stay out of trouble by just doing more podcasts. It keeps me off the streets. So.
there you go.
All right. So last question here is there a second season? Will you be on it?
Well, yeah. Second season, we won't find out yet. We won't know until like January probably. Ish. And second season, I don't think it would be an actual second season because it was a limited series. As you can see that's
Right.
labeled that.
6 series.
And
Yeah.
so I believe that means like I don't know if it could be the same title or probably won't be all the same people. So I don't know if there's gonna be like a spin-off or whatever, right? Or anything. It depends. I mean, it's been pretty high on the ratings from what I can see and what I've been told, but they have to get the content bought before they do it, right? By the bigwigs. So I don't really know. And would I be on it? I mean, I would pray, meditate, and ask my guidance. Would they want me to be on it? It depends on who's on the other side, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
How much they're getting paid, who knows? It's a big question to me. And as soon as I know, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah. And make sure somebody at least throws you some money this time.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it otherwise. Again, unless my guidance told me to.
Yeah,
Like
there you go.
again, but it does take a lot of time and energy and effort. So I would hope that there would be some way to have it all come together, at least some type of barter. I don't think a big company knows how to do that yet,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll
Cool.
figure it out when the time comes.
That's right. So, all right, everybody. So again, for both Naraya and I, appreciate you hanging in there with us. A lot of great questions, a lot of funny questions too. I think there she is. She'll answer the questions. She's all over there. Check out her socials. I'm sure on here on the YouTube channel you can get a hold of her, the different locations and so forth. And yeah, like she said, maybe there'll be more of these, and then she'll be doing her own show. Maybe, who knows? We'll have to see.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
Show you how to do it,
yeah, there you
hopefully.
go. So, all right, everybody, we appreciate y'all for hanging in there with us. Y'all have a great night, and all right, the garden,
Thank
commune.
you.